Hello, I'm Dr. Scott Wattier.
And I'm Tommy Welling, and you're listening to the Fasting for Life podcast.
This podcast is about using fasting as a tool to regain your health, achieve ultimate wellness, and live the life you truly deserve.
Each episode is a short conversation on a single topic with immediate actionable steps. We cover everything from fat loss and health and wellness to the science of lifestyle design.
We started Fasting for Life because of how fasting has transformed our lives, and we hope to share the tools that we have learned along the way. Hey everyone, welcome to the Fasting for Life podcast. My name is Dr. Scott Wattier. I'm here as always with my good friend and colleague, Tommy Welling. Good evening once again to you, sir.
Hey Scott, how are you?
Man, I am hungry because we're about to talk about one of my past loves of my keto life tonight. And we'll kind of dangle the carrot a little bit here, but I think we're gonna have a really good conversation tonight around MCT oil and what that is, how it can be beneficial, but also how it can be kind of a trap and something that people seem to not want to give up.
Yeah, we get a lot of questions about this, and it seems like, especially since it's associated with coffee for a lot of people, it kind of becomes one of those things like, well, yeah, I need to have that. I can't really give it up. Don't ask me to. But you know, we've seen it come in direct conflict with some people's, customized fasting schedules and their fat loss goals and everything related.
Yeah. And the study that kind of opened up this rabbit hole, we had gotten the question in many different forms. Like you had mentioned, well, I'd start my day with a Bulletproof Coffee, or I just died inside a little bit because that used to be part of my life. And we'll talk about what those numbers actually mean. And it's a sliding scale and the good and bad that comes with it. But you had sent, we had pulled up an article on a weight loss diet that includes MCT, or medium chain triglyceride oils. The main component of coconut oil. Main component of coconut oil is MCT oils, or those shorter chain, medium chain triglycerides compared to olive oil, and
which are longer chain.
Right. So we just started having a conversation. We're like, man, we keep getting this question. We really think this might be a good kind of rabbit hole to go down. So, and then we ended up at Bulletproof Coffee. So we've kind of, we'll kind of unpack this for y'all and hopefully come out with a good action step for everybody too.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, like you said, it's a question that keeps coming up. And what we wanted to see was, where should we be? Should we be using MCT oil? Should this be something that we're using, on a day-to-day basis? Should we be recommending this? And, how do we best help people who are we're trying to help them with their fat loss goals, and their health, regaining their health? Should they be using it? What's the best recommendation here?
And I don't remember when this was, but previously there was an onslaught about saturated fats, right? And how coconut oil, which is made up mainly of medium chain triglycerides, we're kind of getting a bad rap, right? And, MCT, or coconut oil, does have, heck, if you get on some of the more holistic websites, they use coconut oil for everything. Anything, right. It's got 1,000 different uses, and it's a pretty natural, benign product that can help a lot of different things. But in terms of, the application when it comes to weight loss, and health metrics, because a lot of people are trying to lose weight indirectly, they want to look directly. They want to look better, feel better, have more confidence, look better, at the beach in the summer, fit into the tuxedo for their wedding, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But ultimately, weight loss is about health, right? And one of the reasons why you and I started Fasting for Life and how we got started in this was we had failed so many times, fail forward, as I like to say, but we had just failed and tried. And then, fasting was one of the things that was able to unearth the underlying cause of the weight loss issue, which was insulin. So how do we best biohack that? How do we best get our bodies back on track, with fasting, but also using a lot of the knowledge and other things that are out there that could be beneficial. And this is where kind of MCT falls in between for me, where there is a benefit, and that, like you said in the study that you had found, there is a benefit compared to LCT oils or olive oils when it comes down to trunk fat mass, total fat mass, intra-abdominal adipose tissues. They were all lower in this study with MCT as part of their diet versus olive oil.
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of the positive remarks kind of come from is from this study and a few others that were done that support this research, which show that calorie for calorie, if you were substituting MCT oil for other long chain triglyceride oils like olive oil in your diet, then you're actually burning a bit more fat and more calories in a given period of time, which is obviously a good thing. It's basically a metabolic boost, greater fat loss, for the same number of calories, which is good. But that's not really the whole story either. And so we don't want to overreach, with that interpretation either.
So can I talk about me for a second?
Let's talk about you.
Thank you.
Gonna get on the couch?
I'm on the couch. Thank you. I knew that was coming.
Yeah.
So Bulletproof Coffee and we had a good run. And I just calculated, because here's where the other side comes into play. Saturated fat, not necessarily bad. Coconut oil, good for you. MCT, good for you. Healthy saturated fats do not have negative effects on cardiovascular disease, cholesterol levels, health metrics. All of that stuff has been pretty much cleared up, right, over the last 10 years of nutritional research.
They were wrong in the 80s, wrong in the 90s.
Right. So, but back to me on the couch. I would put a hunk of Kerrygold butter. I would use salted. Don't just leave me alone. Just because it was easier, because we, bought it in bulk, and I didn't want to buy salted and unsalted. It's fine. I put salt in my coffee. I didn't really care about the coffee at that point. It was more about the keto. It's more about getting my fat macros where they needed to be. Mm-hmm. And so I was boosting my metabolism, starting my day with a hunk, probably more than 2 tablespoons, and then 2 tablespoons.
Because you were thinking more is better
at
that point too, right? Okay.
Yep. And then 2 tablespoons of MCT oil. In the beginning, I used coconut oil, but not a fan of coconut flavor. Mm-hmm. We had a really good source for that. We used to buy it in 5-gallon buckets, if you can believe that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, literally 5-gallon buckets. We'd use it in everything, right? And so I would put 2 tablespoons of MCT oil, the Now brand MCT oil, and then I would put in my, whatever I could fit in the Vitamix in the amount of coffee. And I would pack these 2 containers. You're laughing, but I'm serious. I'm on the couch. And that would be like my at home kind of sipper. And then I would take that with me to the office. And I just calculated the numbers in my handy dandy little app here. And that's 443 calories of fat for breakfast.
Oh, wow. And this was while you were trying to bulk up, right? You were trying to...
I'm on the couch. This is when I was trying to run a busy practice, right? First couple of years of marriage, all these different other things going on. And I was trying to increase my fitness goals. So I was lifting heavier. I was doing CrossFit. I was trying to get leaner, right? Build more lean body mass, increase and improve my blood work and my metrics.
Increase your metabolism.
All of that stuff, right?
Okay.
And I was starting my day with, I'm being liberal here, 443 calories of fat. If that was my only meal, cool. But then I would eat lunch, and then I would have snacks, and then I had protein bars, and then I would work out. and then I would have dinner, and then I would do, casein, protein, and rice cakes and peanut butter before bed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But back to the
Right.
MCT oil. So lots of benefits that we've mentioned, but this is where we feel that it could go wrong.
So your mindset behind it, behind the sipper, the at home sipper, all the preparation, this was kind of an every morning ritual thing, right?
I needed breakfast. This was a good way to kickstart my keto macros for the day. And I didn't have to worry because it was all fat, and I got my caffeine kick at the same time.
Mm-hmm. And so did this factor into an overall like calorie target that you were trying to hit as well?
It did at times. Typically we were doing low carb, higher fat,
Yeah.
moderate protein. And, through the failing forward over the years, of all the different programs and weight loss programs and 30-day challenges and six-week resets and all that different types of stuff, the macros and the RP strength and all these things just didn't work for me due to the insulin resistance, which was the problem. But it was all with the intention of, like you said, fitting into the numbers, the percentages, not necessarily the numbers, but the percentages that I wanted to see. And we know that we need a deficit for it to be successful long-term, but especially in people that have blood sugar issues that are undiagnosed in terms of, insulin.
Yeah. And I don't mean to speak for you, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like you're describing something that we've heard from other people that we've helped, coaching clients and people in challenges who came about MCT oil and describe it in a way that it's almost like free calories because it's so conducive to the keto lifestyle and to maintaining ketosis, right?
Right.
But the calories still matter. The intake, the consumption, it still matters. And those fat calories are dense.
Especially when there would be days where I would just put it in a tablespoon, and just down the hatch. Sometimes I would just squirt the bottle,
Because you were thinking you were supporting
yes.
Your actual efforts and your fat loss right there.
Right, for sure.
And that's why we wanted to talk about this, because that's where the slippery slope comes in. Because like you said, if that had been your only thing for the day and, it was almost like that was part of an OMAD or during a relative fast or an almost fast, except for that coffee, that may have been okay or acceptable. You may have found your fat loss goals, still proceeding like you wanted to, but when put in with a full day's worth of calories, that wasn't doing you any benefits, right?
Yeah. So the addition by addition, not the addition by subtraction, like the opposite. It was the addition by addition. It was like, oh yeah, this is a great way to start my day. But then I went and, hit my numbers for the rest of the day. And it was just, like you said, calorie dense. So lots of benefits to it. And I mean, there's so many studies out there that show MCTs and the health benefits in terms of, overall, health metrics, cardiovascular disease, cholesterol levels, all those different types of things. But, there's also the benefit that, when you're using MCT oil, if you do want to put it into your fasting plan, then you need to make sure that you're, incorporating it during your eating window, and that you are not, kind of overdoing it like I was unknowingly.
Yeah.
Because it was a safe space, right? Because it was so ketabolic is another term that I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, there's tons of studies out there that show that MCTs or medium chain fatty acids, will increase your energy expenditure, and it'll results in less body weight, decreased size of fat deposits after several months, helps with satiety, meaning staying full, right? So the higher fat meals actually keep you fuller, more full longer.
Right.
Carb meals. So we really just want to make sure that we're using it with the right intent, like you've kind of alluded to.
Yeah. And just to further that point, this is putting them in substitution for those fat calories, or for those calories that would be coming in from carbohydrates or from protein. Calorie for calorie, if you just add MCT oils onto the same number of calories, you're not going to get additional fat loss. You're not going to get additional benefits like that. This would be a substitution, right? Just to be clear.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So if you love your keto coffee, um, I don't really have an easy substitute for that, because coffee has that caffeine boost, right? So a lot of people like starting their day with that. But there are some substitutes in terms of, well, first of all, you could just cut out the MCT oil, because that doesn't really have much of a taste.
Mm.
But the butter kind of gives almost like a replacement to a coffee creamer. So for me, it was always looking at it being a good creamy type replacement, where there are coconut milk creamers, there are alternative dairy creamers, things that aren't like the Coffee Mates of the world,
Hmm.
or the gas station little packets, right?
Mm.
um, so finding a replacement for it would be a good first step, or just switching to a more quality coffee that has a better flavor profile than just using kind of the run-of-the-mill Keurig stuff. Might be a good substitute if this is something that you use, or it could be part of your eating window in the morning and you choose to just eat breakfast. If you're doing one meal a day, have your
Right.
coffee, have your food, have a small meal, 3, 4, 500 calories, that 40 to 50% of the total day's caloric intake if you're doing one meal a day, and just make that part of your morning. But you can definitely use it to strategize so you're not setting yourself back if you're using fasting.
I think that's great advice for everyone. And another idea is to cut down on the volume of coffee by increasing the strength of it. So
Mm,
instead of doing like a large watered down coffee, try an espresso or a double espresso.
yeah.
And then in order to get that same kind of buttery mouthfeel from the MCT or the Kerrygold butter or whatever it is, you would have to use a lot less because you'd have a lot less liquid volume in there, and you get the same kick. So you might have the same experience with a whole lot less calories and consumption.
For me too, coffee in the morning is really more of a habit than a need
Hmm.
on most days. So like I like to sip on it. I always have, but like you just said, so even just a smaller amount might get you the same results, where you can find a replacement for it. And we just want to make sure that if you're using, because a lot of people will that start fasting, or intermittent fasting and keto kind of go hand in hand, right? And if you're coming to this episode and you're like, oh man, no more, but well, I mean, there's ways, like you just said, to work around it. So what I would recommend is if you're doing intermittent, go get the Fast Start Guide, because that really kind of talks about what we're talking about here, which is that one meal a day approach, which worked tremendously for you and I, and then everybody else that's been doing it, and we've been helping with it since.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great place to start. And one of the things that we point out in there is, okay, well, what about my coffee? What if I use a little bit of creamer or something like that? So there's guidance in there for that, as well as in the mini masterclass, 20-minute deep dive. So do that along with the Fast Start Guide. You'll get some answers to those questions as well, and just a great place to get started and to start adapting those little rituals that we all have into a fasting lifestyle, because it's easier than you might think before you've got started with it.
Awesome. So website, www.thefastingforlife.com, free Fast Start Guide, free mini masterclass, 6 steps, put fasting in your day-to-day life. If you need replacements, you're a bulletproof coffee guru, it's part of your lifestyle. I can empathize with you that this was a part of my day-to-day life for quite some time, but eventually the results were not there. And I started cutting things and realizing, wait a minute. Fasting is the answer, reversing my insulin resistance. So there's always ways to work the system, knowing that MCT is beneficial in so many different ways. We want to make sure that you guys can get that into your day-to-day routine. So questions, comments, give us a rate, share with your friends, go get the Fast Start Guide. And Tommy, as always, thank you, sir, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Scott. See ya. So, you've heard today's episode, and you may be wondering, where do I start? Head on over to thefastingforlife.com and sign up for our newsletter, where you'll receive fasting tips and strategies to maximize results and fit fasting into your day-to-day life.
While you're there, download your free Fast Start Guide to get started today. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review, and we'll be back next week with another episode of Fasting for Life.